P Square Squad. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Pretty and Powerful Podcast. Thank you to all of you who are my loyal listeners and viewers who share this broadcast. I love you all and I appreciate you. And I pray that you've been being blessed from this first season. We're at episode 12, you all. This is the final episode of the first season of the podcast. I'm just very excited and grateful for all God has done and for all of the testimonies and feedback that I've been receiving from you all about how helpful these podcasts have been. And so I am closing out this first season with someone very near and dear to my heart. I have another pretty and powerful woman of God here to pour into you, to mentor you. And it's someone that is very special to me because she is my sister in love. And her name is Tamara Morris-Brown. And she is the Senior Vice President, Project Manager at Chase Bank. And she is here to help those of you who are in corporate America, who are desiring to grow and climb the corporate ladder. And we want you to know that there is no glass ceiling. You can shatter that glass ceiling. So that is today's topic, shattering the glass ceiling. And guess what? You're not just going to shatter it, but you're going to do it God's way. You're going to do it in a way where He is glorified. So I am going to toss it over to Tamara. I call her Tam. Those who know and love her call her Tam. And let her tell you a little bit more about yourself. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, sis.
Thank you. Hey, y'all. I just want to say thank you. I am so honored that you would have me on your podcast. I've been checking you out. You've had some amazing women on your podcast, and I just want to thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
All right. So I am a digital product manager for Chase Bank. I've been with Chase for about 12 and a half years. I work with an awesome team of other digital product managers, as well as lead a team of my own. And we focus on the online banking experience for Chase, Chase.com. Prior to Chase, I started my career at Motorola. I was an applications engineer. And in terms of educational background, got my bachelor's degree from Spelman College in the area of computer science, and then went on to graduate school to Purdue University. Got my master's in computer science. And on a personal note, I would say that I am a daughter, an aunt, I'm a godmother, I'm a friend, I'm a wife. Shout out to the best husband in the whole wide world, Mr. Carlos Brown, the love of my life, the king of our household, my boo thing, my baby daddy, my future baby daddy. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it. I love it. Y'all have to know her husband is my brother. So when she's like, my boo thing, I'm like, you know how siblings are. But no, I love it. I love it. I prayed for him to find an amazing wife, and God exceeded all of our expectations. So I'm so proud of him for recognizing his good thing. Okay. Because it was a blessing to me as well. So computer science, you said that was your major. So what made you decide to major in computer science? Did you always have an interest or fascination with that?
Yeah, so I always liked technology and problem solving. Those were the two things that I can remember that probably dated back to like middle school. So it was natural that I would, major in computer science. I felt like that was a really good fit. And so I know sometimes kids struggle with picking a major, but based on, going to a magnet program, for high school and summer programs, I knew that was the best major for me, and just continued in that study. I will, go ahead and confess and say, even though I majored in computer science, I actually did not enjoy programming. Because you do a lot of programming when you're majoring in computer science. And I think what it was I enjoyed like the end result of it.
Okay.
I enjoyed solving the problem and the final outcome of that,
Mm.
um, in a way that I felt like this program, if I do it, it may help somebody. It may make a difference in the world. So while I didn't enjoy programming, I like the end result of that.
Okay. So when you said, I'm going to major in computer science, did you have this job position in mind, or did it just kind of evolve into that? What was your original goal when you said you were going to major in computer science?
Uh, that's a really good question. I didn't have a goal, so to speak. I knew I was in the right area. And to be honest with you, when I finished Spelman, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so I went straight into grad school. Like literally, I graduated from Spelman one week and I was at Purdue the next week.
Oh, wow.
And so when I graduated from Purdue, I actually struggled to find the right type of job that wasn't like hardcore programming and would use some of the other skills that I felt like I had. I liked working with people. I liked problem solving. I liked like making the difference. And so I struggled, and I did land a job with Motorola as an applications engineer. So that's more so still on the tech side of the house. And it was a good job. It was a good job. I liked it, but it wasn't it. You know what I mean? The
Mhm,
job that I
mhm.
wanted. But I
Right.
worked really hard. I worked my butt off. And, my dad always taught me, if someone tells you to sweep the floor, be the very best at sweeping that floor. Do
Right.
not slack off. And so just to drop a little nugget here, even if you're not in the place where you think you should be, continue to
Mhm.
work that thing. Continue to
Yes.
work that thing. Continue to work. Don't slack off, because you never know what God is trying to show you in this season. You never
Yeah.
know what kind of favor you're going to get, or the opportunities that you're going to get coming out of that job. So I knew I was in the right area, but I actually struggled to find a good fit. And I'll just say that back then, after working at Motorola for about 3-4 years, the company went through some changes. And I will say that, back then, I don't know if you guys remember the flip phone, the Razor
Yeah.
phone. It was pretty hot
Had
back
one of
then.
those. Mine was red.
It was pretty hot, yeah. And it was hot until some genius came up with the iPhone and almost put the company out of business, y'all. Put the company out of business. So they started laying off.
Mm.
And they finally made it around to my department, and they gave me a choice. They said, do you want to stick around and kind of keep the lights on and kind of, hang out here, or would you like for us to go ahead and lay you off? You'd be laid off in about a month or so, and we would give you like a severance package. And I said, show me the money. I'll take that severance package. I sure will. And so while I was there, I worked on my resume. I spruced it up, and I happened to give my resume to another manager. And that particular manager thought really highly of me. He knew I was a hard worker, and he happened to give the resume to this guy who worked at Chase. I don't know who this
Mm.
guy was. I never met the guy. And that guy at Chase passed my resume along to a recruiter. And
Wow.
the recruiter, can somebody say favor?
Favor.
Favor. So the recruiter set up 3 interviews, and I landed one of those jobs. And that's actually how I started at Chase. Even the job that, I started with, I liked it. I
Mhm.
liked it. I worked hard, but I knew it wasn't it. It didn't have the
Mm.
it factor. So again, I was continuing down this journey trying to find my purpose. And we talk about purpose in the church and everything, but sometimes you have to find your purpose even in corporate America. What are
Mhm.
you good at? What are you passionate about? And let me just say, I didn't think that I had some reservations about working for a bank. Let's just be honest. They
Mhm.
they were kind of stuffy. They were more traditional, and they didn't. I don't know. When I think of a bank, I don't think of innovation. I don't know.
uh,
That's not where the cool kids go to
mhm.
work for a bank, unless you're into numbers.
Yeah.
And So, and let me just say, it was lily white. It was lily white. I didn't know if I was gonna fit in or not, but I was rolling with it. I was working that thing. Hashtag working that thing. So I went on there and took this job, and I liked it. I liked it, but I knew it wasn't it. And I was on the tech side, and in the process of being on the technology side, I was working with a young lady who was a product manager. Yes, and she was bad. She was bad. She was Michael Jackson bad, like Shamon type bad. She was bad in a good way. And I was just so impressed. She knew the business inside and out. She was customer focused. She knew the financials. She had great executive presence. And she could call you on the technical aspects of things. She knew her stuff. I said, that's it. That's it. That's what I want to be. Let me write that down. Product manager. I never heard of that. Let me write that down. So I, from that point on, just committed myself to being the best, to going into product management, because remember, I was on the tech side, so I had to figure out a way to get into it. But I dedicated the rest of my career getting into product management, being the best product manager that I could be. But no, when I started my career, I had no idea about product management. And when you major in computer science, the typical career path for you is to be a programmer.
Right.
And I just didn't know of other opportunities. And so it took me a while to figure it out, but I continued to work hard and walk in what I felt was like my purpose until it came along. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I love that. There's so many things that can be pulled out of this part of your story. I think the first thing was you didn't have all the answers at first. And sometimes we don't move because we can't clearly see what exactly we're supposed to be doing, but you at least went with what you felt like God had put in your heart, which was computer science. So I'm going to be obedient in that. I'm going to walk with that. I can't clearly see the next step. So let that be a lesson for those of you who, you know the avenue or the area you want to go in, but you just don't have the details. Don't feel like, okay, I might not be called to this because I can't see everything clearly. Sometimes you just have to work at it and walk in that path before everything else is clarified. And I think the second thing that I want the listeners to really pay attention to is that you were talking about the favor that you experienced, but that favor was available because of your work ethic. And I think sometimes we want favor to come without us putting in the work on our end. God has his end, but he just needs us to do our part. And because you were a good employee and you were a hard worker, it was nothing for the manager to pass it to this person and pass it to the next person and pass it to the next person, because you at least were someone that he knew was reliable, was a hard worker, was intelligent. So we can't be praying, God, give me favor, when I'm not being a good steward over what he has already given me and what he has given me charge over. Because you were a good steward, God was able to meet you there with favor. You already had the preparation, so the favor met you at the place of your preparation. And so we want to make sure that we are being responsible and hard workers and good stewards over what God has given in our hands, so that he can show us favor and open up more doors. What are some of the challenges that you have faced being a double minority in corporate America? You're a Black woman, an African American woman. Man, I'm sure you got some stories.
Yeah, just in general, let me just say that everybody's experience is different. Some folks deal with subtle, like racism. Some people will comment that maybe they were overlooked for promotions. I think, I mentioned that when I started Chase, everything looked kind of lily white. And what I mean was that there was no one around who kind of looked like me. There was no representation in upper management. And I do think that's very important. And then there are some people who just find it exhausting to be authentic on their job and to bring their whole selves into that culture. Now, two things that I want to point out that's personal to me. One is you hear about barriers to advancement, and some people automatically say, oh, that means you didn't hear about that job that was posted, so you didn't have an opportunity to apply. And I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about really feeling like an outsider, to that culture, to that work culture, feeling like you don't have the inside scoop, feeling like you don't know what's going on in terms of like backdoor conversations. You don't understand how decisions are being made. It's sort of like if you were ever in college or grad school and you were taking a test and you figured out that a lot of people passed the test, and you're like, oh, that's awesome. But then later on, you found out they had a copy of the old test. You say, well, I didn't know they were posting around copies of the old test. I would have, maybe made a better score on that test. But as it relates to, my experience at Chase, I think one example I would give is, even though I've been at Chase for 12 and a half years, it was only maybe midway in my career that I actually started to understand the promotion process. Now, I thought that if you just worked hard, you gave it your all, you did a good job, did what you were supposed to do, your manager would see that and promote you. That is not how the promotion process works. And I didn't have insight into the promotion process. Back in the day, it was like a secret. Nobody wanted to tell you what the promotion process was. So I'm still trying to do my best, but actually it's your manager who puts you up for promotion. He or she will put your name in the hat and say, hey, I think Tamara's a really good candidate. But it's folks who are more senior than your manager who are actually making the decisions on whether or not you should be promoted. And we call them sponsors sometimes. And I said, well, I don't have any interaction with these people. We don't run in the same circles. I'm not exactly in the same country club as some of these senior people. I don't have a relationship with them. And to be quite honest, I've never presented my work or my projects to them. How would they feel about promoting someone that they don't even know? And so it's a different way of thinking about barriers to advancement. And it's not just about your hard work, but people want to feel comfortable with you as a person, because at the end of the day, Chase wants to do the right thing. They want to promote people who will do a good job, be culture carriers, be a good example. But if you don't know me personally, you may not want to say, yeah, I think Tamara's a good fit. So that's like one area. I would say the other area that I would touch on is that sometimes people just don't think that people of color are intelligent. Intelligent, all right?
I don't even know.
It's funny, when I tell people that I work for Chase, they immediately say, well, which branch do you work in? And they think that I'm a teller.
Wow.
And there's nothing wrong with being a teller. But then when I explain to them that, no, I work in the corporate office, I'm a digital product manager, senior vice president, they look surprised. Not surprised like they're impressed, but surprised like, oh.
How did that happen?
And so I think those are two challenges that I personally had to deal with. But again, folks deal with all kind of challenges of inequality, feeling like they're passed over for promotions, even just differences in pay, which is something that I also struggled with. I was a top performer at one point in my career, but I made way less than all of my other peers. Even the person that sucked on the team, I made less than that person. So, I mean, you have these challenges in corporate America. So that's my experience.
You said something that was really, I mean, just gold. You were talking about how important it is to get to know the people that are above you, because those are the ones who are going to decide if they feel like you would be a good fit for that promotion. And I know sometimes people of color can feel a bit intimidated because there is a specific, I guess, way of life and a cultural thing that we may not always connect with when it comes to maybe dealing with a very heavy Caucasian workplace. Their
Mhm.
upbringing is very different from ours. Their pastimes and hobbies are very different from ours. So how did you, I guess, begin going in at that door and trying to building relationship and learning the lingo? Or did you feel like you had to change the way you talk to connect with them? Because some people kind of lose themselves and they become, like, just try to be a good old boy to try to get in that relationship.
Yeah, you have a lot of that, and I have a mentor who really set me down and was really honest with me about where I stood in terms of the sponsors and people who could elevate me and get me to the next level. And he just said, you know what? I don't think you're going to be able to talk about your last vacation to Paris. I don't think you know which stocks people should invest in, next. And I'm like, you're right. So how do I compete, or how do I, you know, have a conversation with some of these senior leaders? And he just advised, he said, you got to work with what you got. You got to work with what you got. He's like, I'm not going to advise you to start becoming an expert in trading and all this other stuff just to impress somebody. So work with what you have, and you'll be able to shine and do it on your own level. And so, I do take opportunities to not only try to connect with senior leaders by way of my projects and my work. So I'm very fortunate that my managers, have given me opportunities to present. So that's one way for me to get visibility. And then, some of the leaders will come to different locations and talk with different employees. And I try to make it a point to push my way to the front, shake a couple of hands. Hey, how you doing? Introduce myself. And I just remember one occasion where I did have about 5 minutes with one of the senior leaders, and we were chit chatting. And I it's hard to chit chat because we're not running in the same circles. Okay,
Right.
we don't have the same background. But one thing that I knew was that he served in the military prior to coming to Chase. And my mom served in the Army, and my dad served in the Army and then the Navy. And so I mentioned that to him. And I thought, yeah, we got something to talk about. We're on to something. But then he said, well, what were your parents' careers when they got out of the Army or the military? Did they become engineers? And he threw out some other examples. And y'all, my heart just kind of dropped because I knew that what my response was, well, when my mom got out of the Army, she became a home health aide. And she helped people who were in need in their homes to take care of themselves. And my dad worked for the post office, and he was a mail carrier. And so that was not the answer he was expecting. And I just told him, I said, for some African Americans that, got when they finished their military career, they just didn't have the same opportunities as others, even though they all served in the same area and they fought on the same lines, and they risked their lives. And so he understood that. He understood that. We continued to chat a little bit more. And I'll just say, fast forward a little bit later, he became one of my sponsors. He became one of the folks who rooted for me to get a promotion. And I just thought that was just a really good example of you can go out of your way to kind of impress people with stuff that you really don't know that you read the night before. And you just hope that they don't ask a whole bunch of questions because you
Yeah.
just didn't get that far in the chapter of the book that you were reading. But I just think you should be yourself. Be
Yeah.
yourself, and you're good enough. You're good
Yes.
enough. And it took me a while to realize that, but you are good enough.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. Oh my goodness. Because I think people, they feel like, hey, to succeed in corporate America, I have to become a different person. I have this person and then I have who I really am. But there is something to say about people who are embracing who they are, but you still did your research, because you went into the conversation knowing that he had been in the military.
Mhm.
So you still were finding out information that could benefit you, but
Mhm.
you were not pretending, that you were someone that you weren't. You didn't fabricate a whole different dad, a whole different mom. Some people get so big in their lives, they forget. Wait, was he an engineer? Was he? I told so many stories. I got about 3 different dads, depending on who I'm talking to. Then it catches up with them. You don't want to be known for being a dishonest person. And I just pray, you guys who are watching this and listening to this, that you are grasping that you can succeed without faking it, without fronting. You can be yourself. And if they cannot receive who you are, I promise you there are other opportunities. That may not be the place where God wants you to be. If you have to
Mhm.
fabricate an entirely different life and personality to succeed, because that's why people become miserable in their jobs, because they feel like they can't be themselves. They have to live a lie. And I don't think that's what God wants for you. So I want you to take what Tamara's saying to heart and really just work on being honest. You still want to research. You still want to find out how you can leverage the situation in your favor, but in an honest way. In an
Mhm.
honest way. Did you ever consider not taking this route because you knew there were going to be some possible challenges with you being a woman of color? Did you ever say, I don't know?
Mm-mm. No. And I think that if you find what you really love and you're passionate about, then you will scratch, you will work hard, you will take the punches and the hits, and you'll keep on trucking. Now, if you don't really like what you're doing and you know that you're not in the right area now, going back to what I said, I knew that some of those jobs weren't exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked them, but I just knew I was on the right path. I knew that this was what God wanted me to do, and it felt good. And I wish we had a crystal ball. I wish I would have known all of the challenges ahead of time, because you don't know the process, and so it's quite difficult. But I never for once decided to say, you know what, I think I'm just going to do something else, just kind of switch things up. I think if you decide to do that, just make sure that you pray about it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that I can give an example of one time in my life where I did change my mind. So I mentioned that I went to Purdue University and I got my master's, but I actually entered the graduate program as a PhD student. And so my
Mm-hmm.
goal was to get a PhD. And after some time, I just didn't want to get a PhD. I just didn't want it. It wasn't, I thought it was what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just be honest, the people who didn't look like me, on average, it took them maybe 7 years to get a PhD from Purdue University. Purdue does not
Wow.
mess around. If you get a degree from there, you are ready, ready, ready. And they had never had an African American woman to get a PhD in computer science, and I was like, I don't think I wanna break this glass ceiling. I'm gonna leave that one for somebody else. Um, and
Yeah, that's not my calling.
that's not my calling. And I remember just being torn because everybody was so excited about me getting a PhD, and they're like, "Yeah, doctor," and I'm like, "Yeah, I really don't want to do this. I'm not really excited about it," and I didn't want to feel like a failure for changing my
Mm.
mind. But after considering it and praying about it, I knew that I should get out of the PhD program and just finish up with my master's. And it was the best decision that I had made. So I think if you get to the point, so there's something to be said about working hard and working that thing until, the Holy Spirit tells you the next move to make. But then if it really feels uncomfortable, if it really doesn't feel right, it's not sitting well in your spirit, it's not really for you, don't be embarrassed to say, you know what? I don't think this is working out. I don't think this is working out. Now, don't just start throwing in the towel on everything. You just said, now you're quitting jobs, you change. Don't do that. But there may be some points in your life and in your career where you just say, you know what? I'm going to continue down this path, but I think I need to do it a different way. But I'm still heading in the right direction, in a similar direction that I was planning to be in. So I think that's.
I think that's so good. That's such good advice because we are in a day and time, where I'm happy about people's zeal for education. But then sometimes we have to ask ourselves, is this necessary for me to get where I desire to get? Or is this a pride thing? Because sometimes it's a personal goal, and it has nothing to do with your career path. Like it's not going to make it give you any advantage for the most part. And we have to ask ourselves, is this something I just want to fulfill? Then that's fine. But if you feel an obligation because people expect that of you and you're subjecting yourself to unnecessary stress. I mean, it's great for people to cheer you on, but they're not the one taking the classes. They're not the one footing the bill, so it's easy for them to say, man, yeah, that'd be great. Like,
right.
You're not going to pay the price for this. You're not sacrificing for this. So we have to, like you said, follow the leading of the Holy Spirit and then count the cost. The Bible instructs us to count the cost.
Yeah.
Really think about what you're going to have to invest and sacrifice to accomplish this, and then weigh it against the result. Is this worth it? Is this necessary? That was a big thing for me at one point. I was trying to avoid getting a doctorate degree, but that was something that God showed me was necessary for my goal. But even then, my supervisor, when I was doing my internship, was trying to get me to take the PhD route, and I was like, that ain't necessary for my goal now. A doctorate of education will suffice. Cut them credits in half.
Right.
I'm not enduring 30 extra credits when I don't need to.
Hey, come on.
Yeah, but that at one point though, I felt that pressure of, her saying, but this is what you should do. This will be great. And, and then it went into am I going to do this because my supervisor, mentor feels like I should, or is this what God is telling me to do? And so I had to weigh that out. And even then, you still got to do it in God's timing. So you all don't live your life trying to fulfill the expectations of people, because at the end of the day, you have to live with the process and the results and the consequences and the sacrifices. They'll be proud of you, no matter what you do. They'll be proud of you no matter what you do. So don't wear yourself out trying to live other people's dream. That's their dream. Let them do it. It's not my dream. It's your dream, One of the things that really shocked me, y'all, and I just got to be completely transparent. When my brother with Carlos and Tam first started dating, and I found out what she did for a living, I was really shocked at how nice she was and just how gentle she was and how sweet she was, because I have met a lot of women in corporate America. And especially as I worked with my parents, a lot of my parents' clients are, corporate CEOs, COOs, presidents, vice presidents. Met a lot of women, and one of the common things was that they were kind of hard, masculine, or kind of, rude at times. And I even remember me being myself. At one point, I considered going into marketing. And I said, you know what? I don't know if I could have gone into marketing, because I might have become, just a bee. I'm just not even going to bite my tongue. I thought I might have become someone that was kind of like just one of those women that just like cut you, And I did not want to become like that. But I said, look, Tam has found the secret of how to climb the corporate ladder and remain a woman. And not just a woman, but a sweet woman. You know, of course, she has her stern side. You know, I've heard her work voice. You know, I've heard the sternness. You know, even when she's dealing with her nieces and nephew. You know, she don't play, okay, but she still does it in a loving way. And so, how in the world did you manage to get to where you are and not lose yourself?
Well, thank you for all of those kind words, and you guys have met me now that God has worked on me. So let me go back in time and just do a little bit of confession here. So when you talk about being mean or arrogant or being aggressive, there are some women who do it purely to compete with their male counterparts, especially if you're in a male dominated area. For me, and there's another category. For me, I was just trying to hold my own. And I was trying to be strong because y'all, corporate America is rough. Corporate America, this ain't for no punk. No, no, you need to grow some hair on your chest. You need to be ready for this. You need to toughen up. Or as they say, you need to man up. And I wasn't trying to compete. I was just trying not to get railroaded, because people will try you, people will disrespect you, people will say some crazy stuff to you, and you be like, who do you think you're talking to? And so you tend to possibly unintentionally, you're not even aware of it, but you would tend to become more aggressive or just taking on those more manly features. Just to hold your ground.
Wow.
And I just say that sometimes you just feel like you have to become hard, like you gotta be hard, in corporate America, And I just felt like in my early part of my career, I had veered too far to the left. And one signal of that, I tell you a story really quickly. I met with a senior leader, and we were going over a project, and I was supporting his team. And he was a white male. And I just remember as part of the meeting, he all of a sudden said, Tamara, you're a real ball buster. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I just kind of played it off. And I was like, oh, okay, well, the next thing on the agenda, on the list here, I just didn't know what that meant. Now, he smiled when he said it, so I said, is that a compliment? It doesn't sound like a compliment. Is it? Is he talking about me on the low, on the slide? I just didn't know. So when that meeting was over and I went back to my desk, I Googled it. I needed to know what this man was talking about, okay? And so I actually wrote down the definition. Now, I didn't get the definition from Webster because Webster would probably give us the politically correct definition.
Right.
I got the definition from the Urban Dictionary.
Oh, Lord.
Urban Dictionary does not.
Yeah, they don't.
So let me find it here. It says, a woman, also called the B word, who is intelligent, that most men fear opening their mouths to, or who challenges the dominance of men using verbal abuse. And I said, what? I said, I don't want to be known as Tamara, the intelligent ball buster. It's just, I just don't want to be known as that. But again, look, y'all, I'm being honest.
This is good. This is good.
So I'm on this journey, and you would think that I would change right away. But what happened was, I actually thought it was them, not me. They shouldn't disrespect me. They shouldn't talk to me like they're crazy. And I was just giving them a reaction. Okay. And I felt, I'm gonna say at least for 2 years, they needed to change. Oh, y'all need to change. Y'all need to clean up y'all act. It's not my fault I have to respond this way, and I was wrong. I was wrong because you can't control what other people say and what they do. You can only control your actions and what you say and what you do. And I became exhausted. I was tired. I was tired of being mean. I was tired of
Ah.
being aggressive. It was just exhausting. And I was just like, I give up, God. You can take the wheel. I give up. And so after, thinking about it, praying about it, I said, this is not who God called me to be. And I need to be more like Jesus at work. And I need to just ask myself, what would Jesus do? And it's hard in the midst of someone, again, disrespecting you, talking crazy to you. But I wanted to take Christ-like characteristics to the workplace. I started praying before going to work. God, help me. Help me to become and be the best person that I can be. Help me not to pop off and say some crazy stuff to folks. Help me to be compassionate, to be patient with people, to extend grace to others, because I know you've extended it to me. Help me do the right thing, even when help me do the wrong thing. And he worked on me. He worked on me. And I am so proud that I can take that and I can be that person in the workplace. And to be honest with you, it's rare because there are a lot of backbiting and all kind of stuff going on in corporate America. But what I realized was even after meetings, people would call me and say, "Oh, you handled that well. Man, you got patience. Oh, he was being a real jerk, Tamara, but you handled it well and you were so professional." And I just learned to find a balance of being strong, being able to communicate my ideas, but to be very kind to people. I want to be loving in the workplace, even when I don't think you deserve it. Oh, help me, Jesus, because who am I to decide? But even when I don't think you deserve it and you're being mean to me, I want to be that person. And I just felt as though on my journey, we talk about spiritual maturity. I was learning business maturity.
Wow.
And I was growing in that space, and I thought I knew it all. And God just showed me just a different way. And I'm just so thankful that I can take that with me into the workplace. And it's not easy at all. And it's not common, but I feel like I'm making a difference, even whether people want to admit it or not. They want people to be kind to them. Who wants people to not be kind to them?
Right.
And so I just feel like that's so important as Christians to do that, and you talk about standing out and being different. Be different and love people in the workplace. That's what
Listen. Yes. I remember one time I was listening to a Lecrae song and he had a portion with a preacher on it, and he said, you want to be a rebel, you're not being a rebel if you're out here, you smoking, you talking crazy. He said, if you want to be a rebel, you don't read your Bible. He's like, serve God. That's rebellious. And it's like you said, if you want to stand out, won't you just be nice,
right.
be a reflection of Christ in the workplace. That alone will draw attention to you.
Right.
And it's so interesting, as you said, I learned business maturity, and that business maturity was opened up the moment you said, I'm going to bring God with me into this. That spiritual maturity opened you up to a new level of business maturity that you hadn't seen, because you said, I realized I've gone as far as I can on my own. Let me start bringing God into this. Let me allow him to lead me and to tell me what to say and show me how to respond, because it's very easy, like you said, to respond and give people back what they're giving you. It's really easy to toss that tennis ball right on back in their court. Oh, you want to talk to me? Great. Okay, I got something for you. Talk to you even crazier, But what made you, I think, look even better to people is because when you're kind, it magnifies people's foolishness. If you're acting silly like them, it's just the battle of the fools, But the moment I begin to respond with self-control and kindness, it just really puts a spotlight on just how big of a jerk that person is. They think they're looking good, but people are saying, wow, she's not even responding to their disrespect. They're so rude. How are you just gonna just talk to her like that? Now they want to defend you and everything because they really see how rude this person is. And I think sometimes we think it makes us look passive, but what you have to understand, people of God who are listening, who are watching, self-control is the true power. The Bible talks about how Jesus was meek. And a lot of times when we hear that word meek, we think it means weak. But the actual Greek meaning of the word meek is strength under control. And so when the Bible says that Jesus described Jesus as meek and lowly, it's saying that he had all this power and authority, but he only exercised it when necessary. And even when he exercised it, he did it to the strength that was necessary. So that means I might be able to do all of this, but I'm not going to do it if it's not necessary. And I'm going to make sure that when I do exercise my strength, that it's in a way that's going to glorify God. And I think what happened was people started seeing your meekness. You begin to take on the meekness of Christ, where they knew you could go there, but you chose not to. And that really showed how self-control you were, because they like, I know she got something for him, but she's not even doing it. She's not even doing it. Like, what is going on?
Sometimes it was hard because I said I want to be more like Christ, and I said, Jesus, are you sure? You turn the other situation. You sure I can't just hop off on them? You sure that's not in the Bible nowhere? Is the Bible different from like what I read this morning? Did it change? I mean, I was ready.
Right.
Because I felt like they just. People say just crazy things. And I will give another example where I was on a call, and this gentleman, we called him the godfather of his particular area because he knew pretty much everything, and we all respected him, and he did know his stuff. He had been around a long time, but there was this one particular thing that he was wrong on. And I explained that it was different. It wasn't as he explained it. And I did it in a professional and kind way, not to show him up or anything like that. But he got upset. And he started calling me on this meeting that woman. He stopped referring to me as Tamara. He's like, yeah, that woman, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, really? And he said, towards the end of the meeting, he's like, well, I just don't believe what she's saying. So I'm going to pull the data and I'm going to confirm this. And I said, that's a great idea. I think it never hurts to confirm. And that'll give us an opportunity to see how to move forward on this. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so he pulled the data. I was right. All right. I was right. But I did not rub it in his face. I thanked him. I was like, I'm so happy that you pulled the data. I knew it took a long time, and I feel like we can really, be all aligned on this. And we continue to be great partners, but in the midst of him just being so disrespectful, so upset because he doesn't know like everything, you just have to really respond with kindness. You really do.
My. Ooh, and number the law was in the midst. He was in the midst of it, because that woman.
That's that woman over there.
5 words right there. Man, I know we talked about, your career, when you started, you were still trying to figure out what direction you wanted to go in. So I would imagine that there were a lot of things that happened that you didn't expect or plan. So what advice would you give to women whose career paths are unfolding in a way that they didn't expect or didn't plan? Because sometimes, especially those who are very ambitious, we have our plans and we're like 1 year be here and 3 years here, 5 years here. And sometimes when that doesn't happen, it could take a hit on your faith and on your confidence and stuff. So what advice would you give to women in that situation?
Yeah, and that was kind of me. I had it all mapped out because in my mind, I felt like if you did X, you were going to get Y. This is not rocket science. I do X, then there's Y. I work hard, the promotion. I do this, I get more pay. just makes sense to me. But what you find, and this is probably not just in corporate America, but any career that you guys may be approaching, is that it may not be a straight path. It may be zigzag. It may come with a time where you feel like it's taking too long to get to the next phase or the next step. And I thought that many times. And I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready. Coach, put me in the game. I've been at this for a while. I know what I'm doing. But God was trying to teach me some things, like looking back. And I needed to sit in that thing for a while, sit in that position, sit with that project. And it felt uncomfortable. And I just felt in my heart that even though it was uncomfortable, I was still just heading in the right direction. So I would say that if you have your little checklist going on, keep it. Don't be so specific. Leave room for God.
Yes,
Leave room for
that
God
part.
to direct you and to place you where you need to be. Don't be so set on what you've written down, because we don't know how God works and what He has planned. So leave room for Him. That would be my advice. Still plan, still have an idea of what you want to do. Pray about it. Make sure you let the Holy Spirit lead you. But just leave room for Him to adjust, to tweak. And He's done that many occasions in my career. The fact that I even live in Texas is by way of the Holy Spirit and God, because
Wow.
He put it on my heart to move to Texas. And I was like, you must be talking to somebody else, God. You ain't really talking to me. Why would I move to Texas? I don't even know anybody in Texas. And so I avoided it for a while. And somehow he made Chicago kind of sour for me. And I just didn't want to live there anymore. And I said, you know what? Self, I think I should move. I'm sure God was like, girl, didn't I tell you you need to? And so I made my top 5 list. I said, let me think of all the locations I could move to now. He'd already told me to move to Texas now.
Yeah.
That was like number 3 on my list. Thank God for patience when we think we know what we're doing.
Man.
I made it to Texas, and it was by way of faith. It was by way of favor. It was by way of God orchestrating everything for me to get here. And it was attached to my career because I moved here by way of Chase. And I'm just so thankful for that. And if I was just stuck in my way, I wouldn't have ever made it to Texas. I wouldn't have ever met the love of my life. My boo thing. I mean,
Look at God.
Look at
Look at
God.
God.
Look at God.
What was number 1 and number 2 on your list?
Oh, I was looking at like Virginia. New York was out. I wanted someplace that was warm. I needed to go someplace also where, from an industry perspective, I would have like a lot of opportunities. I felt like California was too expensive. I just tossed around some different places, did some research, and God just worked it all out where the opportunity, actually, when I got the job, I was still with Chase. When I got the job, the manager said, well, this opportunity is in Chicago. And I said, well, I really want to move. Do you think I'd be able to work from Texas? And he said, okay, we can do that. No problem. I said, okay. I said, one more thing. He said, what's that? I said, I need some money to move. Well, let me go back and see if we can offer you a relocation package. Because y'all, I was broke. I didn't know how God was going to do it. I was like, really? You want me to move to Texas? I have no substantial money saved up to move like that. I needed to sell my condo. I needed to hire a moving company. I was like, yeah, I have, my retirement, but I don't want to dip into my retirement to do this. I said, I'm going to leave it up to you, God, because if you want me to get there, you'll figure out a way. And, it's unusual and not the norm for them to even give you a relocation package because you prefer to work in a different location.
Wow. It's
Okay.
only if they
So
want you to move there.
that's right. That's right. So let's just say, thank God, Chase covered everything for me to move, closing costs for me selling my place in Chicago, and everything that it took for me to get here and get settled. And I said, God, you did that. Oh my God. Oh my God, work it, work it. So it was a faith-based journey for sure.
Yeah. And just FYI for you all, she's originally from ATL. Shouty. So I'm sure you can hear the southern drawl. And you're like, oh,
Oh
she can't
yeah.
be from Chicago.
Yeah, I didn't get this Southern Belle draw from Texas. I already know.
So before we close out, I have one more topic I want to touch on, and that is mentorship. I don't want to get off of here without talking about that, because you have mentioned, that you've had mentors that's giving you wisdom and advice. So what advice would you have for women who are looking for a mentor in a male dominated area? Because I know for some women, it may be new for them, having a male mentor, but you really can't be picky. In this type of environment, you can't say, oh, I just want female mentors. Like, you may have to have a male mentor. So what advice would you give?
So we talked a little bit about sponsors, and that those are those senior folks who will help elevate you. And I think when it comes to mentors, they're there to give you advice, all types of advice. I've had mentors to give me career advice, professional advice. I've had mentors that, particularly women who give me advice about balancing things that are going on in my career and my life with work. When I talked about the move from Chicago to Texas, it was tough. I was taking on a new job. I was leaving Chicago, where I lived there for 13 years. I was moving to a new place. I didn't have family here. And there's just a lot of change going on. And I was expected to be, come in, hit the ground running with this new job. And it felt overwhelming. Even once I got to the point in my career where I was going to get married, there was more change going on. And so it doesn't have to be just, give me advice on this project. It could be just how you manage your career and even juggle with your personal life. I think it's really important to have a mixture of mentors. You want to diversify your team, your advisors. And so you don't want those inputs to or that advice or that feedback to only come from women. They will give you one perspective. You don't want it to only come from men. You don't want all Black people either.
That's
You want
true.
all kinds of people. You want all kinds of people, because then you will have different points of view. You will be able to learn something. So don't pigeonhole yourself and say, oh, I don't want just a male or a female, or, you want to diversify it as much as possible. I do think that, in my experience, how I've picked up mentors, and I would just say what works for me. Chase has a lot of programs, formal programs, where there are people in the company who have raised their hands and say, you know what, I want to be a mentor. Assign me to someone.
That's awesome.
I am a mentor myself. And so, and I've also been put into these programs to be assigned a mentor so someone can help me. I think it's awesome when someone raises their hand to say, I want to be a mentor, because they're usually experienced in doing so. They have a passion for it. They want to carve out time to help you, and they want to establish a regular rhythm with you. These are lifelong relationships that you will have. Another way to get a mentor is organically, like through your work. So I found that if I'm on projects and there's a senior leader there, I give it some time to see, number one, I want them to see me in action. I want them to get to know me by way of work. And I want to see if I think that this person will be a good mentor for me. or to have a couple of conversations with them. So
Right.
I think that you can pick up a mentor by way of the work that you're doing. Two things that I'm going to point out really quickly is that mentorship starts with you. You.
Wow.
Your mentor is not responsible for telling you what you need to do next. Okay.
Yes. Oh, that's good.
Um, you need to do some self-evaluation, some self-assessment, some looking inward, some research, some whatever you need to do to have a grasp on here's where I am, this is what I think I need help in, and this is what I need advice in. Because number one, what it's going to do is allow you to pick the right kind of mentors for different situations. You just don't randomly pick a mentor. You
Right.
pick mentors based on what you need help in, but that starts with you.
That
Um,
part.
I think the second piece of advice is, look here, if you think you know everything, then you don't need a mentor. If you don't want to listen, if you don't want feedback, and if you can't take constructive criticism, how about you just go on and take your little wrong self on and don't worry about a mentor? You got to be able to listen to folks. Listen, especially those mentors. This is really important, especially those mentors that are close to your work. And see, what happens is those folks, it's like watching a football game. They see you and they see everybody else. They
Wow.
see how other people perceive you. And you may not want to talk about perception, but that's it's very important how people perceive you. You may think you a rock star.
Yeah.
I'm doing this thing. Man, I presented well.
Mhm.
Ooh, yeah, but everybody in the meeting thought you sucked. Yeah, how people perceive you and what they think about you is really important. And your mentor, especially those that are close to your project, may be able to give you some coaching on what you may be able to change in terms of how people view you. Because at the end of the day, you want to be seen as a leader. And so I think mentorship is just so important.
Oh my goodness. Do y'all understand that a lot of folks pay for this kind of information? And I'm giving it to you free, honey. Because we pretty and powerful up in here trying to climb ladders and whatnot. And she's giving you all kinds of golden nuggets. And I hope that you are catching them and you are collecting them, okay? Because she has given you a game plan of how you can position yourself for mentorship. The first thing you said, I mean, and these are things that are relevant for any industry, for business, for ministry, whatever. These same guidelines are, they can apply to all of these different areas. Because you said something, Tam. You said you need to know like yourself and what you desire and what you need to grow in before you go to someone. I've had a lot of people come to me and they're like, will you mentor me? And I'm like, well, what area do you want to grow in? It's like, I don't know, I just want you to be my mentor, just be there when I need you. I'm like, I ain't got that kind of time. We got to have a plan, a strategy before I invest that kind of time in you. And humility is required. We have to understand that if we're saying we want to mentor, then apparently there's some areas that we need to grow in and we need to be developed in. So why would you approach your mentor as if no one can tell you anything? Then you don't need one. Mentor yourself, because you have all the answers. So you just talk to yourself, look in the mirror, and be your own mentor. Just what you think you should do. I know what you should do.
That's funny.
So I really, really want y'all to grab hold of that, because for some of you, mentorship really is the key to you, evolving, growing, being promoted, because they are able to honestly tell you these are areas that you may feel like you're ready for it, but you're not ready for it. You don't fully understand what's going to be required for where you're trying to get, but I know, so I can tell you how you need to grow to be able to prepare yourself to handle that. Because what we have to understand is a lot of times before you're promoted, they want to see that you're already, showing the ability to handle that before you're promoted. So yes, they know you're going to have to adjust to the role, but they don't want to have to just teach you everything. You got to be ready. And so mentorship is so important as you grow. So take what she says to heart, use it to go back to your personal drawing board and say, hey, what are my goals? What do I want to accomplish? Where do I want to go? Before you go to a mentor, work out your own, like the Bible say, work out your own soul salvation. You need to work out your own, career plan and sort that out. Be clear in that, so that you will know who, because some of y'all say, oh, this person my mentor, but they're not helping me. Maybe they're not helping you because you got the wrong mentor, because you didn't know what you needed. And now that you finally figured it out, they're not giving you what you need because you went to them for something else. So it may not be that they're doing a bad job. It's just that you picked the wrong person because you didn't have clarity on what you needed. And so now you need to find someone who it really is more in alignment with what you need. So yes, that is amazing advice, Tam. It's almost time for us to end. This is my sister, y'all. We could just talk and talk and talk and talk. So, but like I told y'all ain't gonna watch a 2-hour podcast, okay? So we got to keep the time at a decent time where you can get a lot of information, but it's not too long. So, but before we get out of here, I'm going to allow Mrs. Morris-Brown to give you some closing words of encouragement for you women who are aspiring to shatter the glass ceiling and excel in their career. So I'm going to let you loose, Tam, to just say whatever last words you want to give our listeners and our viewers.
Okay. So I would say figure out your purpose and walk in it. Find the things that you are passionate about, that you're willing to scratch tooth and nail for. Network with people. Have a good set of mentors. It's so important that you connect with people so that you can get advice, or just make sure that you understand the ins and outs of kind of what you're doing. Join professional networks. A lot of companies like Chase have what we call like a Black Business Council. We have a program called Women on the Move. Those are so positive. You won't feel alone. You won't feel like you're by yourself, or you're like, man, is this just happening to me? So you need to join those professional networks. Know that your path and your actions are not just for you. There are people looking up to you. You are a role model, whether you want to be a role model or not. You are a role model. You are a cultural carrier. You are breaking down walls. You are cracking glass ceilings, whether you know it or not. So just know that your path and how you interact with people in the workplace and what you do is really going to impact other people. Be you, be genuine. God made you, and he was intentional when he made you. He made you to be a very unique person, and bring that uniqueness into the workplace. There are studies that show that companies that diversify their workplace are more successful. And so corporate America needs you, and we don't need you to be like everybody else. We need you to be you. Yes. Okay? So come to the table as your true self, your best self, and share what you have. Share your gifts. Share your skill set. And you'll be amazed at what it can do for not only the company, but what it can do for you. You will grow in the process on this journey. So that will be my advice for all the women out there.
Awesome. First, before we close out, I just want to say thank you, Tam. Y'all, her schedule's so busy, so we really had to push to find a time where we could record this. But I just want to say thank you for carving out some time of your busy schedule to pour into other people, to sow into the lives of other women, because representation matters. Like you said, we need to see women who look like us, and not just women of color, but believers as well. in the workplace who are allowing their melanin to shine and the light of Christ to shine, so that other women and little girls can see there are a lot of options, especially as we talk about even representation in, computers and engineering, in math, in areas of science where we don't see a lot of women, let alone women of color. And so I want you to know how big of a difference that you are making and how important it is for you to be on this podcast, for women to be able to see that it is possible to succeed in these industries where you may be the only one all the time, but it is still possible for you to succeed and to thrive and to not lose yourself. So I pray that the ladies who listen to this, who watch this, and even the men, because men watch the podcast too. Y'all be doing it on the low. I see you. But hey, welcome. So that everyone will be encouraged by your story, by your testimony. Thank you for being so transparent and for just letting people know, hey, I didn't always have it together. There were some mistakes I made, but you know what? God led me into the right place. I got it together, and that is going to help so many other people to avoid those same mistakes and pitfalls. So you just gave out so much. I felt like this was almost like a, workshop. I could have charged somebody for it, but hey, God is good.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you for who you are and all that you do. Even in your workplace, it matters. Your life really, really does matter. For those of you who are watching, thank you for tuning in today, for tuning in week after week. I appreciate you. To all of my new listeners, my new viewers, welcome to the family. Welcome to the squad. I hope that you enjoy this teaching on today, this mentorship moment, and go back and watch the other episodes so that you can catch up with all that we've talked about this season. As I said, this is the last episode, but guess what? I have a bonus episode for you on next week, a special bonus episode, but that's going to be it, y'all. Now I'm going to take a couple months off, and I'll be back again with some new guests and some new topics. But thank you so much for all of you who've been with me since I started back in July. I appreciate you, and I thank you. And I usually ask my guests how they get connected. People can get connected with them on social media, but my sister ain't on social media, y'all. She ain't on social media. Ain't no sense. Ask the question.
I am on LinkedIn, but I do not do Facebook. Don't even try it. But I am on LinkedIn.
Okay, she's on LinkedIn, y'all. So look her up on LinkedIn and connect with her on there, just so you can get that, that good advice or just guidance, But she ain't on Facebook. She's on Instagram. So don't look for her. She's not there. She's busy, okay? She's senior vice president, okay? She's busy. Y'all know I got a trip. This is my sister, so I could be extra silly today. But go to my YouTube channel, Sheree Eddington, and like and subscribe to that channel. Make sure that you connect with me on Facebook at I am Sheree Eddington. Also on Instagram, I am Sheree Eddington. Let's connect. I have a lot of great stuff that is about to come up. Since I'm closing out the podcast, I'm going to be doing a weekly live broadcast on YouTube. So you have to make sure that you are subscribed. I'm going to have a whole new type of focus for this, okay? So make sure you subscribe to my channel, and also make sure that you're connected with me, because I'm going to be releasing some courses. I'm working on a book right now, so I want you to know all the stuff I got going on. So connect with me on IG, connect with me on Facebook at I am Sheree Eddington, and I will see you all for the bonus episode on next week. Don't forget, ladies, you don't have to choose. You can be pretty and powerful. So don't just walk in it, honey. Strut in it. I will see you on next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.